in the Public Service Division of the Prime Minister's Office and Secretary of the Public Service Commission. Prior to her current appointment, she served in the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, Public Service Division, and Ministry of Social and Family Development. Her public sector experience includes overseeing leadership development and human resource policies in the service, policies on social safety nets, family development, social sector development, rehabilitation, and protection of youth at risk. Her current role is to develop people for a first-class public service. So to give us the keynote message, let's all welcome Miss Ong Toon Hui.
Hi. Hello, good morning, everyone. I hope you can see and hear me well. Let me start. Your Excellency, Alicia De La Rosa Bala, Chairman, Civil Service Commission of the Philippines, friends from the Philippine Civil Service, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. Thank you for the invitation to join the Public Service Leaders and HR Forum. The theme is an important one: public service continuity and recovery. I understand that it is also an occasion to mark the 120th anniversary of the Philippine Civil Service. Therefore, on behalf of the Singapore Civil Service College, let me convey our warmest congratulations on the anniversary occasion. This morning, I would like to share the story of the Singapore Civil Service College digital transformation. It is still a work in progress. We have a lot to learn from others like our friends in the Philippines as well. The college's strengths are in the practitioner-based learning and in the traditional domain areas: public sector administration, leadership, policy, and governance. Prior to transformation, the majority of our programs are delivered mainly through classroom sessions, with a small proportion in seminars, conferences, and consultancy services. Let me just share briefly, why do we need to transform? About 4 to 5 years ago, we started to realize that we cannot continue business as usual. The signs and the driving forces are clear. First, the types of skills and competencies required of civil servants are changing. And we are seeing this in new and emerging areas: digitalization, data skills, understanding citizens, innovation skills, communication and engagement. And these are skills that are beyond our traditional domains. Second, the speed at which public agencies expect the college to train their staff has also increased. There are now many more mandatory programs that all civil servants have to go through. It will take a long time to cover everyone if we were to do so through the traditional channels. Third, we have a new generation of civil servants joining us who are digital natives. Our workplace and how learning is conducted must also adapt to appeal to this group. So overall, it was a wake-up call for us that we urgently need to transform ourselves so as to remain relevant. The theme of the college transformation is what we call learning redefined. Our value proposition is to build new capabilities through learning and development. It is about transforming the learning experience of our participants so that it is impactful, innovative, and inspiring to them, and they in turn take this back to impact their respective organizations. And therefore, we aspire to make 3 key shifts. First, from being a training provider to an orchestrator of learning. This is important given the new skills and the pace of change. It is not realistic for us to stick to the traditional way of developing programs in-house and then to deliver them. We need to tap on external expertise and networks. and then we adapt them to the public sector context. Therefore, we see ourselves playing the role as conveners for actually different communities to come together and learn from one another. Second, we are shifting to a more competency-based development model, where civil servants have to adapt and upskill regularly. And we see our role is really to support them at each stage of their career. And it can be enabled by having proper competency frameworks and also enabled by technology. Third, we need to shift from being a provider of learning products to really cultivating a learning mindset and value within the civil service. And this is critical given the very volatile and uncertain environment that we're in. We want civil servants to embrace learning as a way of life. It is not just about attending a course or a conference, but learning on their jobs, learning continuously, sometimes even unlearning and relearning. To achieve all this, going digital is a key strategy for us if we were to bring about the changes. And this is all the more critical given the current pandemic situation and the push towards remote and safe working. Our guiding approach is to be digital to the core and not digital lipstick. And that means being digital in all aspects. So it is not just customer-facing functions. It is not just converting a physical program to digital channels, but fundamentally redesigning our offerings to deliver a positive and impactful learning experience to our participants. It is also about how we use data to better understand our customers and serve them better. In the next few slides, I will cover some examples of what we have done along 4 key areas: digital competencies training, digital platform, digital programs, and digital backroom. As the Singapore government pushes more digitalization, our priority is to raise the digital literacy and competencies of all public officers. And this means having to equip them with basic knowledge of digital tools and how to use them to communicate and collaborate at work. And we also need to educate them on data and cyber security. For the more advanced groups of officers, it is about using data and digital technologies to improve work and customer service. Over the past 3 years, the college has developed and rolled out a number of new offerings. And these are digital-related programs: basic modules on digital competencies, data analytics program, robotic process automation programs, agile and scrum workshops. And we have found that these are in high demand and often oversubscribed. Because we do not have all the in-house expertise to develop the programs, we had to partner external experts like Coursera and also our institutes of higher learning to bring this about. As we have to scale our offerings to as many officers as possible, we could not rely only on traditional classroom training. Some of the programs are mandatory, where officers have to complete them within a stipulated deadline. For this reason, we developed a whole of government digital learning platform. It is called learn@gov.sg. The platform is accessible by website and mobile and is available to all public officers, both in the ministries and statutory bodies. And this has enabled us to reach a large number and do quick upskilling. Learn is our first foray into digital learning. And it is not easy because it requires an entirely new skill set to develop content on a digital platform. We could not just take the materials that are used in a classroom and then just put them in the digital domain. It does not work that way. The contents have to be chunked into bite-sized modules, and presented in a way that learners can consume meaningfully. We have made good progress. We now have close to 130,000 subscribers, and that's actually very close to covering our 145,000 workforce. During the circuit breaker, this is Singapore's version of COVID-19 lockdown, when all of us had to work from home. We saw an increase in the number of officers assessing learned contents. So if you look at the graph, the red line shows the number of officers assessing the mandatory programs. So it goes up and down depending on when the modules were launched and when the deadline of completion is. The blue line shows the number assessing non-mandatory programs, and it's a better reflection of demand and relevance. And we see that, in the circuit breaker, actually we have 3 times more officers assessing, and we are actually very encouraged by the trend. We are also mindful that digital learning should not replace face-to-face learning, which is still important. So internally, we have to decide what types of content should be placed on Learn. And these tend to be the basic programs for general awareness and compliance-related training. We also have blended programs where participants complete some modules online before coming to class. So this way, we make better use of face-to-face class time, and we need not have them in class for a few days. In the last 4 months, the college was literally pushed into developing and running virtual programs. So these are what we call synchronous virtual learning, where the trainer actually conducts the training entirely on a digital platform, live with the participants. This is a scenario that we have not actually actively planned for. We spoke about it, thought about it, and thought we might want to try it on a small scale first. But of course, COVID-19 sort of accelerated the effort for all of us. So it took a crisis for us to jump into the deep end. In the lead up, when the number of COVID infections were increasing, some of our longer milestone programs were actually running. And we have to start reducing physical and social interactions literally on the go. The rules keep changing every other day and week. In the end, we decided just to run the whole programs online. So we actually ran a 5-week milestone program entirely online, 60 people. We tried out a variety of platforms and tools to see what works well. Zoom, WebEx, Mentimeter, Skype, what have you, we tried it. So we have since learned from the efforts and actually have redesigned quite a number of our offerings to be totally virtual. And it is our business strategy going forward to have a mix of delivery modalities, mobile, synchronous and asynchronous digital learning, and of course, face-to-face training, but with the appropriate safety measures. Because the pandemic is likely to be around for a while and we can expect infections rates to rise and fall, we need to also expect our training activities to be disrupted from time to time. And therefore, it is important that we have different modalities so that we can be flexible when the situation changes and be able to respond. And it will also ensure we can continue with the important role of capability building and development, even in a remote way. Apart from the technical aspects, digital transformation is also as much about culture and human behavior. For this reason, we have also ramped up our efforts to educate our agencies, our civil servants and public officers, and our own associate trainers to embrace digital learning. This slide shows some of our marketing campaigns, how we try to encourage public officers to meet, our new classroom, which means a digital classroom. We are also seeing early signs of success and encouragement from the virtual programs that are being rolled out. This slide shows a sample of the course evaluation ratings of our virtual programs. We ask our participants to rate the programs on various dimensions, whether we achieve the intent of the program, can they apply it, their satisfaction levels, and also the trainer's effectiveness. And we have found actually the learning outcomes are just as good, if not better, than face-to-face programs. So this is an encouragement to us and we'll persevere on. Digital learning is but one dimension of what our customers see. To bring about a deeper digital transformation, the college still has a lot of work to do internally. We cannot be fully digital if we still do things the same way at the back end. Our processes, our structures must also be digital and make life easy for our staff. In this regard, we are working on 3 areas within the organization. First, we are trying very hard to digitalize our internal processes. For example, our course registration and evaluation process have more or less been digitalized so that our staff need not spend time handling physical copies or keying in data manually. Second, we have reorganized internally to better use data. For example, we have set up a data unit within college to pull together different data streams in order to derive better customer insights and to support our operations. This is really to help us understand and have a 360 view of a civil servant or an agency's needs. We are starting to use learning analytics. This is a relatively new area, but one that's made possible through our digital platform, where we are able to obtain data on learners' behavior, what works, what doesn't work, so that we can adjust our strategies accordingly. Third, with digital transformation, the types of roles and jobs within the college are also changing. For example, we used to have a group of course administrators who manage physical classroom, right? They get the class ready, they make sure the participants settle in well. Now, we still have the group of officers, but they manage digital classrooms. And it requires a slightly different skill set. We have new roles like digital learning facilitators as well. And what this means for us is we have to upskill all our staff with the necessary digital, data, and agile competencies. So to sum up, the Civil Service College in Singapore, our digital learning transformation is still very much a work in progress. We are also learning from the experience of others and improve on our approach. And I'll be most happy to also hear about the Philippines experience after you have rolled out the online learning. So with this, thank you very much for your attention this morning. And I'm happy to take any questions you may have. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Dean, for that sharing. Thank you for sharing with us your best practices in CSC Singapore. And I am sure our participants have learned a lot from your sharing, and those can be our models for us to improve our processes also in the Philippine bureaucracy. Thank you, ma'am. All right, so may I ask our team members if there are questions for the Dean?
Miss Joey?
Yes, Miss Des.
No, this is Jelay.
Yes, Jelay.
We have one question.
Yes.
Edgardo Mendoza, I think this is addressed to the Dean. How is learning being assessed using the digital platforms available? Are there any concerns with privacy issues if programs will be converted online? Can the Dean answer to that question?
Okay, hello, Angela. Yes, if I have to hear the question correctly, you're asking how do we address privacy issues if we were to put content online? Is that your main question?
The first question, Dean, is how is learning being assessed using the digital platforms available? And then the second one is, are there any concerns with privacy issues if programs will be converted online?
Okay, thanks very much for that question, Angela. On assessment, today we don't we don't conduct exams over the digital platforms because the purpose of the digital learning is to equip the public officers with very basic compliance base of training, which we are quite happy to sort of push out to as many people as possible. So they are not assessed. What we do for some modules is they take a short test at the end of the modules just to check whether they are able to understand the content. And it's multiple choice. They can take as many times as possible. They just have to get 80% right. So the purpose is not to examine them, but really to make sure that they have acquired that knowledge. So we're not too worried about that. Privacy issues, I understand from you, no issue for us because only public officers who are employees of the public agencies are able to sign in on the platform. And we have actually packed the contents of the platform so that it meets the so-called the information security standards. Whatever we put on the platform meets that threshold. So we're not putting very sensitive info on the platform. So for contents that are more sensitive, classified accordingly, we don't put them on the platform. We sort of convey those to other forums and channels. So I hope this addresses your question.
Thank you, ma'am, for your response. And we have more questions for you here. One question from Miss Maria Teresa Iraola. How do you gauge the learnings of participants in an online training, or what kind of assessment do you recommend?
Oh, okay. How do we gauge the participants? So for the platform, we won't be able to gauge the response online because they consume the content as and when they are ready. We give them the option of giving us feedback after they complete a module, whether they rate us 4-star, 5-star, just like you rate, some of the digital platforms in Amazon and so on. So that is one source of feedback. For the synchronous program, yes, our associate trainers will have different means of engaging them. We make sure all of them switch on their video cameras so that you can see their visual expressions, and there'll be questions and activities during different parts of the program where they're expected to give responses so that we make sure that they are constantly engaged.
All right. Yes, thank you so much. And there's one more question. Actually, I will combine two questions altogether. What are the challenges that you encountered in the implementation of online learning, if there are any?
Oh yes, certainly, lots and lots of challenges. We assume that our customers want to consume learning digitally. And that was actually quite a surprise for us when we rolled out, say, Learn or digital programs. We actually have a segment of our public officers who are not very keen to learn digitally. They still prefer to come to a classroom, interact with people. So we find that we have to do a lot of change management effort to encourage them to at least try one module. we get our champions, those who are very keen on this area, to share with their colleagues, what the benefits of digital learning. And we also find that we have to work with the different agencies to make sure that within the organization, they have a conducive environment for the officers to do online learning, because you need proper equipment. You also need quiet places, good headsets so that they can hear. So we sometimes take these little things for granted, but actually they are quite important. So we find that we have to address different facets of, so that we make it a good experience for officers.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. And another question, how did you make sure to have the stakeholders buy in on your digital transformation?
Yes. I just explained one group of stakeholders are the actual customers and participants. So we have to do a lot of education there. I don't have much difficulties persuading my senior colleagues, let's say the CEOs and the permanent secretaries of the different ministries, because they realize the need for this, and actually they have been really, really supportive. That's why we are able to, have 130,000 subscribers, because it's the leaders themselves who just encourage the whole organization to sign up, because they know this is the way to go. And I think the recent few months is really a affirmation that we're in the right direction.
Yes, so thank you so much, ma'am. So I think that's about it for our question and answer. And in the interest of time, we have to end the session for now, ma'am. So thank you so much
Thank
again
you so
for
much.
finding time for us. And we have learned so much from your sharing. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
And
you very
also,
much. Yep. See you. Bye-bye.